I regularly state that about 80% of all EV drivers can charge at home, and they do charge at home. There are about 20% of the drivers with an EV who at the moment can't charge at home. And they're not forgotten. There's an awful lot of work going on in the background to look after them. But on a recent trip to an EV ultra rapid charger, this was 12 GridServe 350 kilowatt chargers, I thought it'd be an interesting exercise to find out who was there. I'm Dave, welcome to Dave Takes It On, and we're looking at who uses hubs and motorway services. Well, we need to differentiate. If you can't charge at home, or even if you can, why would you use a ultra rapid charger? For those who can't charge at home, an ultra rapid is on the dear side. The typical tariff is about 79 pence per kilowatt hour, average throughout the UK, some up as 85 pence, some down as 65 pence, but the average is around about 75 to 79p. It changes quite regularly. So it doesn't make an awful lot of sense if you can't charge at home to go and use one of these, and it makes no sense at all if you can charge at home at 7.5p a kilowatt hour to go and spend 79p. So these have a limited use, and that's entirely what they're intended for. Why are they there? Well, let's take a motorway services, a supercharger, Tesla supercharger on a motorway services. Tesla in the early days realised that most of their customers, it's a California-based company, most of their customers charge at home, and most of their customers have solar panels on the roof. This is just a fact. So why did Tesla build out this network in the first place? It was because in America, people like doing road trips. And if they bought a car, which was an expensive car at the time, that could not do road trips, it wouldn't go down very well. So Tesla decided that while most people do charge at home, and still do to this day, there are people who do road trips or go and visit family or friends or go on holiday who will need to charge en route. And so the supercharger network was invented or developed. At the same time, Ecotricity in the UK, they were starting off the electric highway. Instead of 150 kilowatt chargers, they were chucking in 50s. They did exclusive deals for all the motorways, etc. So we ended up with a network of 50 kilowatt chargers, usually dual bay, and America ended up with a load of Tesla superchargers, 150 kilowatts. They gradually appeared in the UK and eventually caught up and overtook them. So who uses them out on the road? Well, again, we need to separate out who can charge at home and who can't. So I'm going to look at my own case. I do and can charge at home. I pay 11 pence a kilowatt hour. There's a reason for that, but that's in a separate video. So why would I go and spend 40-50p per kilowatt hour at a Tesla supercharger, which is what they are, when I can charge at home for 11p? And the obvious answer for me is I go out filming. I recently went down to South Wales. I went down to Surrey. I was in East Anglia. And all of these, I can just about get to some of them on a full charge. Certainly can't get home again. So for me, when I'm away from home, I have to charge somewhere. And to me, the convenience of the supercharger network is that they're everywhere. They reckon in the UK, they've calculated you're never more than 40 miles from a Tesla supercharger, wherever you live. And for most people, it's an awful lot less than that. I've got, I think it's 5 or 6 within 40 miles of here. So plenty of choice. And also Tesla superchargers are the cheapest in the country. So I use the Tesla supercharger for when I'm away from home. If I'm just nipping down to Birmingham back, 100 mile each way, I can usually do that without charging. If I'm going down to Surrey, not a chance. So the first people who might use this are people who are on a road trip. Second people who might want to use it, if you buy a Tesla, you can't charge at home. It's really quick and easy to go to your supercharger nearby, plug it in, typically 15 minutes, 20 minutes, your car will be full. And for most people on lower mileage, not like me, they'll find that that is once a week. Simple as that. It is cheaper. They're typically paying 40 or 50p, so you'll average around about 15 pence a kilowatt hour, maybe 16 pence. And by comparison, a petrol car doing 30 mile an hour, 30 mile per gallon, is costing you 21 pence a mile, and a petrol or diesel car doing 40 miles to the gallon will cost you about 18 pence. So even if you buy a Tesla, and even if you can't charge at home, and even if you go to a Tesla supercharger and charge at peak time, because they have tiered prices, it will work out cheaper than a petrol car or a diesel car. That's a fact. For comparable car, not talking about pitting one of those against a little Renault Clio or something. Talking about comparable sized cars. If you can't charge, you might use a Tesla supercharger. If you can't charge at home, you might use a Tesla supercharger all the time. But that's not for everyone. So if we look now at what else is available other than ultra rapids and rapids, you find there's a lot of fast chargers about. So once again, if you can charge at home, this doesn't really apply to you unless you're going away. Now, when I go away, for example, to South Wales, I stay in a hotel and they have free charging in the car park, Tesla charging. So I go to this hotel. It is no dearer than others nearby, but they have the Tesla chargers in the car park. So when I get there with a virtually flat battery, plug it in, and by a couple of hours, overnight, it's back up to 80 or 90%, which is what I run it at. So these are destination chargers. But the motorway services and the hubs are specifically designed for travellers. They're not meant for people nipping out from home and charging, although you can use them for that. They're meant for being on the go and travelling. So it'd be interesting to find out if we go to a charger of some sort, either a grid server or Fastned, Ionity or Tesla, it doesn't matter, and just talk to the drivers and find out where they're from. And we had the opportunity to do that the other day. There's going to be a full video coming out on this later on, but just as a spoiler alert, we found out that on several expeditions out there to do this and talking to a lot of EV drivers when we're out there, we're finding that almost none of the people charging at a charging location are local. They're all travellers. A couple of examples. David recently we met at Chester East. He was on his way from somewhere in the north of England down to his home in Poole. This is a long distance, obviously, and this was one of his stops. Paul that we met, he was on his way to Rotherham. A couple of other people we met from Pembrokeshire. They would come up to visit friends in Llandudno and had to charge on the way, but down in Pembrokeshire they always charged at home. So what we're finding is that these motorway services, charging stations and hubs, they are almost exclusively designed for people on a road trip. Now, it doesn't mean anyone else can't use it. For example, rugby services, massive big grid serve installation, massive big Tesla installation. It's actually just off the motorway. It's one of these ones where you come off the motorway, you come to a roundabout, you turn left, and the services is there. So if you're on a motorway trip, it's half a mile off the motorway, it's less than a quarter of a mile off the motorway. But if you live in the nearest town, you can happily nip in there and charge up. So when you're on a trip, you can use that, but when you're local, you can use it as well. But they seem to be predominantly used by people who are on road trips. And that's what they're meant for. The 7 kilowatt chargers going in, these are the workplace chargers, the destination chargers, the street side chargers. They're designed for plug-in overnight when you need them, not every night, when you need them. And if you charge up once a week in one of those, free up the charger then for someone else to use for the other 6 nights of the week, you've got your battery as full as you need it. With an LFP, that'll be 100%, and that'll last you a week. So on our visits round, looking at the chargers, we talk to people and we're finding out this is very much what's happening. People who use the superchargers and the hubs, they are people on road trips. People who use the local ones, they are the ones who can't charge at home and are just looking for somewhere to charge. But the key message here is, don't charge every night. It's the equivalent of going down to your petrol station every day you come home and topping up half a gallon. It's stupid. Anyway, thanks for listening. I'm Dave.